right. Well, we're coming to you today, and I know the format is going to be a little bit different for you. I hope you'll be okay. We're just things have come up, and so we're just doing things a little bit different for a week, and hopefully everything will work out next week, and we'll be back and bless you guys with some music and stuff. But I promise you, the word is worth your time. We're looking at the next in the codex of the Nag Hammadi. I was going to say here, it's really quite amazing to me as a person who does care and works very hard to be mindful. I've really been amazed at how many people are I don't know how to say it, all over this modern media concept of spirituality and stuff, and yet I'm amazed. I often hear them make statements and they are totally oblivious to what the truth is. Now, that doesn't mean that they're lying, deceiving, or anything else. It just means that their level of perception is a little bit more limited, I believe. And I'm suspecting that if you have ever gotten the opportunity to travel to the astral plane and you've left your body and you've experienced these great and mighty things, then that would do that. But I think what Source is trying to teach me so that I and others can stay grounded is no matter where we are, friends, all of us have much to learn. And we don't understand where we are, even much less where we can be. And so I want you to take that. I want you to understand, it seems like we just have a bent towards you. It's all or nothing. And while I live my life like that, so I totally understand that, I'm recognizing that is very seldom a true statement. In reality, if that is the case, then you either know all that there is to know about Source or you know nothing about him. And I don't think that there's anybody that has a mind at all that wants that to be their status. But it does happen to people, and the beauty is that it doesn't have to happen to us. And so I hope you guys in your planes of moving and learning and growing and experiencing all that frequency is exposing and the amazing vibrations and I hope you guys are experiencing some of those things, and they certainly are very, very much a part of our journey, but they're simply an outworking of what's going on inside. And so what we must constantly do is focus on us on the inside, on us as the God who lives within us. And so the book we're going to start tonight, we finished yesterday, last week. We finished with an amazing concept that God has created a game that all humans are to play, and he wants to see which one are willing to give up their life so that they can accept return back through monad into the source of all, the one light, the all, the power, the everything that is so much that you could never name it. Even if you started, you would never have enough lifetime to find words to fulfill all that the all is. That's beautiful. I love what they said. He is the unknowable one. And so we're going to take off today, and it's absolutely appropriate. I promise you, if you are growing, you will see the appropriateness of everything that Source brings truth-wise to you. And I hear it all the time on the television. If you are here today and something resonates, that's why you heard it today. And I have to tell you, I'm mostly beginning to get in a situation where I really believe those things. The things that have just been happenstance they're not happenstance at all, folks. Synchronicities in life and orchestration of our life and situations, and when you begin to understand that the reality that you're living in, first off, must pass away, and before the new reality that you've been creating, good, bad, indifferent, and I think that's really a kind of a place where maybe people get tripped up. Because in Christianity, it was all about one thing, and in true source reality, it really is about you making a choice of which reality you choose to live in. And if you choose to live in a bad reality, even if you're not intentionally doing that, your thoughts and your vibrations that come from your mind and your heart are telling the universe that that's what you want more of. And so I've watched much consternation in people when you begin to kindly explain that to them, because now it makes sense, but I still don't like it. And nobody wants to think that they're the one that's causing all the problems in their life, and yet we will begin to truly grow when we can come to that place and accept the responsibility and still not let it condemn us and still not let it cause us to be in shame. There's no reason for us to be in shame. Everything we've done in ignorance, and hopefully your eyes are enlightening, and you are moving out of ignorance. And if you are, then what a glorious day, because the truth about that situation is that those days won't remain forever. The minute that you begin to move and create from true heart and authenticity in coherence and alignment with source, the minute you begin to do that, the universe begins. Now, here's a piece I do want to add, because there's a lot of talk about manifestation, and I'm finding out a lot of it is manufactured by people, and they take a principle and they build this belief on it. And then there's another form which seems to be the ones that function in it mostly. And I'm always have been a functioner. I always have been very pragmatic. If I don't care how much you paid for it, if it doesn't do any good, then why have it? And so it's the same way with truth. And so are we powerful? Are we huge? Are we capable? And wow, the answer to that question is just so marvelous, it's not even funny. It makes me find much great peace. Great peace have they whose minds are stayed on Him. And just so that you understand, if you were a Christian and you heard that verse, Him is in you. So look at the picture of what was really being said, not what Christianity told you. Great peace have they who look inside of themselves. It's never been a curse. If to you meditation is something that you choose to do simply because you're not going to waste your time with that strange crap that come from some other place, I really am sorrowful for you, because you'll never experience all that there is for you. The only place we can access the realm is from the inside of us. And I'm finding that there's maybe misunderstanding on both sides of that picture. From the people who think that you need to spend 20 hours a day meditating or you're not going to enlighten, and yet they go for 30 years and never enlighten. And those people exist, a lot of them. So let's focus on how do we get to a place to where we're functioning in the power in the manner in which we were intended to. And so the book we're going to read today fits right with that, the concept of our great power. Now, I want you to recognize that is a statement of self. And I'm sure that there's some people out there that may not necessarily see themselves in that light. And maybe sometimes it's easier to see other people who are functioning and become enamored and say, oh, wow, yeah, that's amazing, and then on the other side of it, not be able to see that in yourself. And if that's the case, then that's certainly something you need to look at, because I am firmly becoming grounded that my world is totally shifting, and it's totally shifting on part because I recognize that we all are the exact same consciousness. If at this point in reality, Source chose to kill every human body and leave the souls here standing, we would simply just be the collective light that you must go through the monad to experience. That's crazy. It's crazy beautiful if you want to know the truth. And so, the intellectual perception, the concept of the great power. Whoever knows the great power will be saved. And I think it's kind of cool there, because you never hear the term saved outside of Christianity. and yet here you have Gnostic documents, and so, you know, I think the balance has to work constantly. In reading Yitzhak Bentov's book, The Chasing the Wild Pendulum, which is one of the most amazing books to lead you into consciousness that there is. It is real and it is very accessible, but once again, whether that ever happens for you or not is totally dependent on you. And so whoever knows the great power will be saved. Whoever knows our great power will become invisible. Fire will be unable to consume such a person, but it will purify you. And it will destroy all that you possess, all of the you. So when I say this, if you haven't arrived at this point, then I want to say the word, so if you do, when you get there, the gift will already be waiting for you. Dear friends, if I was to ask you today and who you were, and all you could tell me is all the attributes of you as a human, I would say to you, you haven't even begun yet. And you haven't. Okay? It's only when the first awakening you must have is that you are not you. And I know for some people that function in different realms, those are very difficult. They seem, some of the things that come, and maybe some of you have felt this way. Well, he just contradicted himself. Last week he said meditate, and this week he said don't meditate. And the reality that you're supposed to recognize is I never said do one or the other. What I said is there are different facets that are beneficial to you if you do them, and there are facets which may not produce the results that you're hoping for. And so if you understand that, then things begin to become very clear. And so this fire will purify you, and it will destroy all that you possess. Well, that right there turns people off. But it's only when you begin to recognize that the possessions of things is what your problem is in the first place. I had Source speak to me, so this has been a piece of a couple of weeks' journey, but Source said to me, why are you chasing that? And you'll be amazed the amount of things that have come into the picture and the words that have been spoken to me to help me see. It's not that he was condemning me, it's that he's showing his love by guiding me through things that we by nature, and I would say to every one of you, whatever you're chasing, I don't even care what it is. Whatever you're chasing, why are you chasing it, and when are you going to stop? Because until you stop chasing things, you are emitting frequencies that the universe says they want more of what they've been getting. Look how hard they're working to show us that that's what they want. And I know you don't know that. I know that my words may be foreign to you because you haven't begun to understand what this is really about. And there's people that I know that do not have a clue about what I just said to you. But it is the only path back. And so, it will destroy all that you possess, for all those in whom my form appears, from 7 days old to 120 years old, will be saved. Upon them are placed these obligations to gather together all that is lost and the letters of our great power, that the great power may write your name in our bright light and bring the thoughts and the deeds of others to an end. So I will say this and will not back up from it and will not be ashamed. There is a whole system that exists that the mass humans, whether they think they're enlightened or not, have zero knowledge about. Most of the people that I've met in my life that are trying to convince themselves and other people that they're spiritual know nothing about reality. They know what someone else has told them, and that's all. And so, that's not a bad thing. But you must very much learn to follow your intuition, and sometimes that's the thing that we resist the most, is the voice of the higher self telling you, don't do this, don't do that, go here, don't go there. And you just walk right by it blind because, hey, you're in control of the ship. And you are. Higher self does not force its consciousness on you. It simply gives you an opportunity to access it if you choose to. And so, that's a powerful statement. Upon them are placed these obligations. So, as I've said 100 times here, you now see it in the books that my words have been recorded for thousands of years. If you thought leaving Christianity and leaving the 10 Commandments of the Bible was going to give you freedom, you have absolutely no understanding that the law of the universe has always existed. And to be quite honest with you, there is more of a connection between the law of the Torah and the law of the universe than you probably might think. The law of the Torah writes it so humans have fear to force them or manipulate them or control them, or even better, to cause them to follow a set of rules because of human mind. The laws of the universe are how the universe functions, and you don't get to play unless you follow them. It's that simple. And so, for those who are playing the game, see, it's really funny. This just keeps morphing, and perception source keeps opening and enlightening. That statement, I read it twice to y'all 2 weeks in a row because it is very profound. That the game is about you getting back, if you choose to. And if not, he'll choose to leave you here. And so, I love this, that the great power may write your name in our bright light. What a concept. What a concept. And bring the thoughts and the deeds of others to an end. That's already happening for me. When I say words to you like, I don't care who doesn't like me. That has brought their thoughts and deeds to an end. I don't care anymore. What I do have to care about is, what does Source in me say to me? And am I willing, open, and obedient to trust that? Faith without works is dead being alone, friend, is a spiritual, mystical statement. When intuition speaks and you choose to listen, that is the function of faith. When intuition speaks to you and you disrespect it with your ego, you're the one that has no works. Because you do exactly what ego tells you to, and what Source tells you not to, or your intuition, which is collective consciousness, which is you, not your physical body. So, that the power might write your name in our bright light and bring the thoughts and the deeds of others to an end. Then these may be purified, scattered, destroyed, and brought together in the place no one can see. Well, multiple times there's been allusions of the place where no one can see. Why did Yahusha say go in your closet and pray? Because he wanted you to go in the place where no one can see. Where is the only place pretty much on this earth that exists that no one can see? That's the heart of man. And so you will see me and prepare your dwelling places in our great power. So you will see him is awakening, and then because you have begun awakening, you will begin to prepare the house, where God lives, you will begin to prepare that place for him. That's your shadow work. That's your focus. That's your intuition. That's fixing your coherency. That's alignment with source truth. That's how you prepare your house. It's all these words that I say to y'all that most people have no clue about what I'm even talking about and will certainly never spend 2 seconds to go Google it. No condemnation. It's just a choice that you make. And so come to know how what is gone has come to be. That you may know how what is alive will come to be. You see, they just laid out for you that nothing's going to happen without you actively doing it. So you can keep listening to spiritual teachings till you puke, and you can meditate until you fall asleep for 100 years, and none of it's going to benefit you an iota. Because it's not those things that bring enlightenment. Those are tools that work with enlightenment, but they don't bring enlightenment. So, you will come to know this person that begins to understand the dwelling places of our great power will come to know how what has gone has come to be. That's a beautiful statement, because changing of timelines is constant. It's families that just disappear. They don't care about you in existence, and you no longer care about them in existence, and the timeline has shifted. You won't hear from them. They could care less if you're dead or alive. That is a timeline shift, and there is a purpose and reason for it. That you may know how what is alive. You may know how what is alive. You may know. Not someone else telling you because they know. Will come to be. How will this happen? You can only find the answer from someone who has experienced it or is in the process of experiencing it, short of you experiencing it for yourself. And I say it all the time. I listen to these people on television tell people that you have everything inside of you that you need, and you do, but accessing that isn't as simple as they want to make it. Accessing it is a life journey of everything that is you. You can make that life journey 3 days, but it's still a life journey. And so, and know how to recognize this. Consciousness and perception brings recognition. If you can't perceive it, you can't see it. And if you're not conscious, it won't matter whether you do or don't. You won't get it. And that's where the state a lot of people live. And so, and know how to recognize this. He wants us to know how to recognize this. He wants us to learn a trade, a tool, a trick, a job, a function that we have no knowledge of. And if God doesn't use other people to bring truth into your life, then why are there even prophets in the first place? Why are there even mediums in the first place? Why are there even channelers in the first place? Why are there even seekers in the first place? Because if you already have it, which you do, but you have no ability to access it. And so you keep walking around telling yourself how much you have, but you don't have a clue about what you have. And that's not the way that it works. Humility is everything. And so, and know how to recognize this and what that aeon looks like. What its nature is and how it came into being. Why don't you ask what your nature will be or how you have come into being? Why don't you ask that? I'm often surprised at the questions that I do get asked, but what really saddens me more than anything is the questions I don't get asked. And so, in the beginning are water and spirit. Think about how immense the water is. that it is incomprehensibly, immeasurably. It has no beginning, it has no end, it supports the earth, and it blows in the air. When the gods and angels are, there is fear and light in the one exalted over all this. Make sure I didn't jump 2 pages. I didn't. Or did I? Okay. Where the gods and the angels are, there is fear and light in the one exalted over all of this. And my letters are visible in that one. I have provided them as a service for the creation of flesh. For no one can stand without that one, and the eon cannot live without that one. Wow. That one has what is within and thinks in a pure way. Pretty crazy when you're broke and you don't have 2 pennies to rub together and people are running like a cancer, and yet Source says to you, why are you chasing money? You have no clue the things he said to me lately. It blows me away. If I can become the man that Source has desired for me to be, folks, I won't be able to be around most people. He's amazing, he's crazy, and he's serious as hell about this. I have provided them as a service for the creation of the flesh. For no one can stand without that one. And the aeon cannot live without that one. That one has what is within and thinks in a pure way. Look at the Spirit and understand where it is from. The Spirit was given to people so that they may receive life from it day by day. Do you know that the truth of the matter is that the breath of the Spirit is the bread that we are to think Source for day by day? You see that word pop up because that always has been what the so-called Lord's Prayer was about. Had nothing to do with anything physically. It was a total mystical, spiritual statement made to people that Yeshua knew would never understand, and the few that would. Look at the Spirit and understand, where is it from? I've had people in the past tell me, oh, well, we were born with the Spirit and we got the Spirit, and man, once we got the Spirit, that's all I needed. Well, that's real funny, because there's lots of people living on this earth that have the Spirit too, dear one, and of course they didn't know that. But that have the Spirit, and yet that Spirit is so hidden inside of them, it never functions. That's why in the Bible, the mystics that were written about, that's why they said words like, show it, practice it, take it out and use it. See, if you can begin to see inside of you what you truly are, then you can begin to create that. But here's the problem, and I shared this with y'all the other day. Part of the problem is that you think because you prayed today and something didn't happen, then God just didn't hear you. And in reality, these things of receiving and interacting with Source, many are instantaneous, but the manifestation part, which is really only half of the equation, because if you are manifesting, no matter where you're at, if you are a pessimist, or if you are a person with an impure spirit, and you're unclean inside of you, and all of those things, you are creating and manifesting. The question isn't all humans are. The question is what are you creating and manifesting? And yet I hear almost no one telling the world that truth. You are manifesting every day. You do not have an option to stop that, except to change your frequency. And so you keep praying different prayers, thinking different prayers are going to move the universe, and the universe could care less about your stupid prayers. What the universe cares about is what your frequency, your coherence, and your alignment is all about. Sorry. If you don't like it and don't understand it, I feel sorrowful for you. You ought to find a guru and give and do everything you can do to get every second that you can get from that person. So, that one has within it and thinks in a pure way. I am love and I am peace and I am light. And when I got that revelation, and I suspect it was a gift from the universe, but when I got it, it changed everything in my life. Quite honestly. Look at the Spirit and understand where it is from. Where does the Spirit come from? Or do you even know? Or do you even care to know? The Spirit was given to people so that they may receive life from it. Where does life come from then? It comes from the Spirit. It does not come from your flesh. It comes from inside of you. So if there is a good spirit that you did possess and you allow yourself to possess a bad spirit, then that is also your source of what you're receiving, and all of that comes out of your mind. That's why a pure mind is so important. It has life within it, and it gives to all, but not all receive. Then darkness in the underworld received the fire. It will release from itself what is mine. Its eyes could not endure my light. And I would like to say to you, dear one, if you haven't been there and you haven't experienced this, please just mark this in your mind. It can be a seed. It can be a thoroughfare. It can be a motivating factor, even if it has to grow. If you come to a point in this lifetime that you come to that place in space and time, you will above all be a blessed person. I'm going to say it again. It will release from itself what is mine. What does? The force that is running and controlling things that so many people seem to keep having struggles about. That are the things that created you physically. It will release itself from you. Now it has a hold on you, and there are things you can do that guarantee that the archonic power system cannot even grab you. And when that happens, peace like a river flows. Its eyes cannot endure my light. I meet many humans that are under the control of archons, and their eyes cannot endure my brightness. The first age of flesh begins. The wind and the water moved, and the rest also came into being along with the entire aeon of creation. From the depths came the fire. Power came to be in the midst of the powers. And the powers desired to see my image. The soul became a copy of his image. You are the monad, a copy of the divine supreme light. And if you knew the truth, you would begin to hunger and thirst after righteousness in a way that your carnal mind can't even deal with. That's why you keep creating out of your carnal mind. What is being created for you is not coming from the pure essence of you if you're not pure inside. Your carnal mind is corrupting, is circumventing, is pushing what that good flow could be. It's pushing it away from the place that it must go. You are. Your ego. You are creating this reality for yourself, even if you're unaware of it. So, from the depths came the fire, and powers came to be in the midst of the powers, and the powers desired to see my image, and the soul became a copy of it. And if you didn't get anything else out of the night but that one statement right there, friend, I guarantee you left here a whole lot more blessed than you were when you came. So stop and ponder that when Source says to me in prophetic statements that he desires for me to be the light that he looks at. Screw humans. What I want from you, I didn't say it was from y'all. That wasn't given to y'all. That was given to me. But I believe it actually is the purpose for all of us. However, whatever your purpose happens to be. And so, this is what came into being. Notice what it is like that before coming into being, it could not be seen. Since the aeon of the flesh came to be in giant bodies, long periods of time in creation were assigned to them. We know that the Neanderthals walked this earth in spite of everything that religion has programmed you to believe, that Neanderthals, these stupid people that knew nothing, were painting symbols of sky beings and flying spacecraft hundreds of thousands of years ago. The Neanderthal were replaced by humans because we were so much superior, but they existed for 300,000 years, right? That's the way that a stupid person functions, is they exist for extremely long times. Unfortunately, that's not the way this earth works. This is what came into being. Notice what it is like. In other words, awareness. To notice something, you must become aware of it. To notice what you are, you must first become aware that you're not what you think you are. And depending on how you use that in context, that might be you coming to the revelation that I am not what my face, my avatar shows people, that I've created the lie, if you would, of who I am. So you play the stupid little lie game and you go around and lie to everybody about what you are because you're too scared to be authentic. They might not like you. And the truth is they probably won't. But do it anyway. And so, when they became corrupt, these giants, after entering the flesh, the father of the flesh, the water, acted in judgment. When the father of the flesh, who holds the angels in subjection, found Noah, who was pious and worthy, Noah proclaimed a message of piety for 120 years. He proclaimed a message of purity of heart. And they refused. For 120 years. I've only been doing this 30 years. I'm not even a fourth of the way to where Noah was, folks. That's crazy. But no one listened to him. They said, listen, if that preacher stands up there and tells us all these things we didn't care about, that's why we don't ask about them, and tell us that this is what we are and this is what's going to happen. 120 years he did that. And let's see what happened with Noah as that happened to him. But no one listened to him. Did it stop him? Did it deter him? Or was he on a plan with the higher scan because he was listening to something else that's not human? It will be very hard for you, as it is in Christianity, and I met very few that really ever even attempted or even understood that they should have attempted. But when Yeshua says words like the supernatural words, that these signs will follow those that believe, I try this every time I encounter a human. I say those words and I watch their face and I know where the person is at. Because if you don't know, and if you haven't thought, and if you haven't perceived, and if you haven't become aware of the reality of what that statement is, then you're still lost and always will be till you're not. Maybe that for you will be a year, and poof, supernatural awakening will happen for you, and you'll wake up one day and go, wow. I hope so. It happens to everyone that awakens. The only question is when is it going to happen to you? And so he made a wooden ark, and whoever he found went in. Then the flood came, and Noah and his son were saved. If there had been no ark for a person to enter, the flood water would not have come. Ponder that piece that you haven't known for a second. And then ask yourself about yourself. If I really am this loving divine light that this guy keeps telling me that I am, and you are, and all of this stuff is true, what might my world really look like if I ever one time in my heart desired to know the hidden secrets? What would it be worth to me? What would I be willing to give up? What would I be willing to lose? What would I be willing to suffer? See, I'm living my whole life doing everything I can do to avoid anything that has a connotation of hard. That's why if you noticed in the last book, she went through all of the stuff and then came to the end and said laziness is one of the things that will destroy you the most. Not because somebody isn't, it's because you cannot be lazy and find source. Because it has to come from a need inside of you to find out what is. And if you don't have that and you just want to be saved, you'll continue to play the matrix game. It was designed for people like you. But the minute that you begin to see yourself as something other than, then if you continue, you will be something other than. And so, what an amazing concept to the whole Christian situation of Noah and the flood. If Noah had not listened to God, so if you want to know the honest to God truth from that picture, Noah is the one who caused the flood. He preached for 120 years and no one listened, and he finally said to hell with it, and he went and built a boat. And God said, okay, since you trust me so much, I gave you truth, I gave you word, I gave you intuition, I gave you downloads, I gave you power, I gave you source, I gave you wisdom, I gave you knowledge. And because you've shown your faith in me and you've done this act, because of it, I will fulfill this. I will remove these people who do not have pure hearts from you. You ponder that for a second. What if source, what he did for Noah, he is still doing for people every day? What if the splitting of timelines is actually the separating of that is and that isn't? I'm telling you, he's being very vocal, my higher self, about speaking profound truths. Sometimes I don't know how to deal with them. And so, thus, that one had a thought and planned to save the gods, the angels, and the powers, and the majesty of all of them, and this luxurious way of life by moving them out of that aeon and providing a life for them in places that endure. The judgment of the flesh came to an end, only the work of power remained steadfast. And for us, dear friends, that is absolutely the truth. Only the works that come from the inside of us are going to remain. That's why people who are flaky, that's why they're flaky. That's why they never fulfill their commitments. They never do what they say they're going to do. They say they love God today, and tomorrow they do horrible things, and on and on. That's why you've been all of that your whole life. We have the power to change it, but the question is, will you? Not can you. You can, if you will. But when your will says, I will not, then that is the reality that the universe gives you. This understanding about faith, folks, is really massively shifting. It's totally supernatural. How do you believe what you can't see? I used to ask this question. Nobody else did, but I did. So how can you believe in what you can't see when all you've been told your whole life is to believe in only what you see? Don't you understand that's all a ploy to turn you away from imagination of being able to see before it exists, and then it exists? And that's the only way that you will manifest the dreams and the desires, if you would, the heaven on earth. The only way is for you first to see it, and then feel it, and then believe it, and then it happens immediately. But it doesn't mean that it manifested in the physical realm immediately. This has been a piece I've struggled with for a long time, and thank goodness Source is so kind. Always brings the truths that a human desires. When it becomes your desire, you will focus your attention on it. And remember, I've shared with you about you are creating what you're focusing on. If you're focusing on a lack of money, you're going to continue to perpetuate that. If you're focusing on these things, you're going to continue to perpetuate that. If you're focusing on things that are of the flesh, things you can have, things you can do, things you want, things this, things that, and if that is who you are, you will keep living in that cycle, and that's all that cycle for you will be. When you begin to say, I don't really care about all of those things, but what I do care and long and hunger for inside of me. And then, of course, we know Yahusha told us that those that do hunger and thirst after righteousness, they are filled. Think about the concept between the things that you want and your hunger and your thirst for righteousness. See, everybody thinks those things go away because the Bible's not anymore, and in reality, Source has nothing to do with religion. The morality, as we understand it, is non-existent, and yet our creative power source of the whole universe and all the universes is concerned with righteousness. That's why Yahusha tells us the message he gave us was about righteousness. He says you are to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Why? Because that is a righteous law of the universe. And if you're not doing that, then you're not in alignment. You're not in coherence, which are two different things. Being in alignment with him is not coherent, and coherence is not alignment. They do very closely go together. But without them, you will never access the power of the universe, even though it exists in you. And so, thus that one had a thought and planned to save the gods, the angels, the powers, and the majesty of all of them, and the luxurious way of life by moving them out of that aeon and providing a life for them in places that endure. The judgment of the flesh came to an end, only the work of power remained steadfast. Next in the aeon of the soul, it is trivial, entangled with bodies and the conception of souls and defilements. You might want to listen. The first defilement of creation gained strength. It produced all sorts of things, many works of wrath and anger and envy and jealousy and hatred and slander and contempt and warfare and lies and evil advice and evil advice. Be very careful, no matter how much they love you or said they did your whole life while they were raising you, be very careful about these manifestations in people around you. Many works of wrath and evil advice. sorrows and pleasures, disgraces and defilements, deceits and diseases, and unjust judgments given arbitrarily. Still you sleep and dream dreams. Even though all of these things are going on, you still go to sleep and you still have dreams. It can also mean that you are still asleep and you are still living in a dream, even with all of that around you. Wake up! Come back and taste and eat the food of truth. Wow. Wow. The spiritualists will call you a fanatic if you teach that. Still you sleep and dream dreams and wake up, come back, and taste and eat the food of truth. Make the word and the water of life available. Not for you. How do you make it available? Out of you will flow rivers of living water. It's the same words, folks. Avoid evil lust and desires and whatever deviates from who you are. So now I want to stop and I want to go back for you again for a minute. We must guard ourselves against dissonance from other people, but honestly, the biggest enemy that you have to your soul is your subconscious self-mind. I'm going to say that again. The only thing that can corrupt and the only thing that can overpower the true you is the not true you. The only thing. Because when you line up in alignment with source and coherence with source, that is to say, your and source vibration is like this. When he said to me about me being a light, what he was saying, I want you to line up and sync with me and vibrate like I'm vibrating. And since then he has begun a journey that is quite amazing. I've never seen a color in my life. I have seen some entities that are watching me, but they weren't spirit guides. Avoid lust and desires and whatever deviates from who you are. So, one that has a thinking, logical, conscious mind, I would think immediately would probably have asked themselves when I read that, well, I either do honestly know who I am or I don't know who I am, and this encourages me that maybe the most important piece of my spiritual journey is first off to find out who I am. And the only way you can find out who you am is by going inside yourself and being honest. You can't lie there. It is what it is, and you are what you are. That's the good news and the bad news. So, these are evil dispositions that are unsound. The mother of fire did not have power. She sent fire upon the soul and the land, and she burned all the dwellings in it until her consuming rage ceased. When she can find nothing else to burn, she will consume herself. The fire will become incorporeal with no body, and it will burn matter until it has purified everything. And just so you know, there have been many speakers talking about that the upheaval, the dissimilarity, it is dissonance, on a massive scale. I hear people that fought in world wars who are saying we have missed the point of humanity. I love it when I hear it, but it is not that often that there are more veterans turning against what's going on right now than probably ever. Whether you know it or not, friends, we are in a move. And the earth is in the process of purging itself of the unclean that humans have done to it. That's just one phase. Humans are also in a process of making a decision about who they are going to be. That decision is made by frequency. It doesn't come from your mind. It comes from your essence, who you truly are. And so, the fire will become incorporeal with no body, and it will burn matter until it has purified everything. Now, I'm not sitting here giving you some prophetic lesson about this is saying, look at the fire that's coming for the earth, because that's not reality. That's not even close to what's going on. Including all that is wicked. Righteousness has no need to fear. When it can find nothing else to burn, it will turn on itself until it consumes itself. Many things go along with that. And so the revealer comes into the world and is persecuted. I told someone who was brought up in religious sect, very devout, a wonderful human being. I love him to death. And I said, friend, we've been lied to. He said, yeah, I know. There's multiple people that have left our church all of a sudden. It's not truth. So why I said that to you is to encourage you. Folks, I don't care. I do care whether you believe or not because you need to believe me, just simply because it's truth. And you need to believe the truth whoever it comes from. But the reality of it is, dear one, is that there is a massive thing going on in humanity. And the only question, it's going to happen to everybody, as you just read. It's going to happen to everybody. The only question is which one of those two are you? I've talked about visions from Dolores Cannon and Edgar Casey, two of the greatest prophets in this time that we live in. And both of them said the same thing. And yet, what do? Exactly what the Bible says. You look for peace and joy, and you run from the reality that there may be something amiss in this world that's a lot bigger than what you are. See, here's the problem, and Dolores dealt with this before she died, but nobody knows about it. Because she gave a prophecy about the safe place when the chaos that's coming on this earth that's headed this direction now. And the 3 days of darkness, just like was in the Bible in Egypt, when everything will cease to exist. You won't be able to walk out of a room without falling on your face because you can see nothing. And what is going to happen to the world when that happens? It's going to be mass chaos. And so they tell us this. And I love this. Right before Dolores Cannon died, she left this piece of truth for everyone who will hear it. I heard it. If you choose to, great. But she said, what you don't understand is, and right now there are sects that are buying up land in the middle of the country where they'll be safe from what's going to happen in California and what's going to happen on the East Coast. If you don't know anything about that, you probably should maybe think about it. And so anyways, they're moving there. This is humans with good hearts trying to fulfill according to the carnal mind. And so she saw what was even happening all of those years ago before where we are now. And this is what she said. The only protection anyone has is their frequency. See, you have a base frequency, and that is who you are inside. If your base frequency is low, you're low all the time. If you're pessimistic, if you're devious, if you're whatever you are, the true essence that most people don't want to look at, that is the frequency that will determine where you are. So for me, it's not a cliche when I say this. I'm actually charging the air with the fullness of my understanding when I say that I am love and I am peace and I am light. And that's what I am, because that's what he is. And if you're not that, then you're not his. So, it's all about frequency, folks. All about frequency. Then in this eon of the soul, there will come to the human who knows the great power. So see, you have to understand there. This is only coming to those who know the great power that we are. Listen to it again. Then in this eon of the soul, there will come to humans who know the great power. Did it say it will come to all humans? And there will be some guru that'll come along and tell you that it's for everybody. I've listened to them say all kinds of things, and they're bold-faced lies. Those people don't know, have no more understanding about what they're saying, which is exactly what they told us up here in the list that condemned. And of course, we sit around mindlessly unaware of what's going on. He will receive it and know me. He will receive it and know me. He will drink from the milk of the mother of the work that was done. He will speak in parables and proclaim the eon that is to come. Just as he spoke in the first eon of the flesh to Noah, when he uttered his words, he spoke in 72 languages. He opened the gates of the heavens with his words. He put the ruler of the underworld to shame. He raised the dead. He destroyed the dominion of the ruler of the underworld. And I'm going to say to you that the underworld and the concept that was painted for us, I'll give you a little different understanding that may make some sense for you. The underworld and hell are your frequency. Heaven is your frequency. Everything that's written is based on that timeline. It's you. That's why so many people live in hell and die in hell, because they were low frequency people. They were in hell. And he opened the gates of the heavens with his words, and so can we. Folks, I'm going to tell you with all honesty, love, and kindness, if you ever come to a point of beginning in the proper manner to find your true self, oh my God, the world's going to be so beautiful for you. And I'll just warn you, you'll have worse things happen to you probably than you had happen before, and yet you'll deal with them 5 times better than you ever would have. So he opened to the gates of the heavens with his word, and he put the ruler of the underworld to shame. He raised the dead. He destroyed the dominion of the ruler of the underworld. Then there was a great disturbance, and the rulers rose up in wrath against him, and they wanted to give him over to the ruler of the underworld. They knew one of his followers, and a fire burned in this person's soul. He handed him over since no one knew who he was. They did it. They seized him. They brought judgment upon themselves. They delivered him up to the ruler of the underworld, and they gave him over to Sasabek and Baroth. He prepared himself to go down and prove them wrong. And I know that maybe you don't see it. I hope you do, because if you do, it's amazing. And if you don't, I hope you will begin to, because it's equally amazing. But there is a metaphoric picture in that is the path that we must walk. See, the things that come because of our frequency. The things that don't come also don't come because of our frequency. So all those times in Christian church when I used to go, and I knew a lot of this, not at this level, but I knew a lot of it, of people that prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and you hear these ladies that spend half the day speaking in tongues on their floor, or pushing somebody down for 5 hours on the altar so that they could get saved. And you know what? When it was all said and over with, the person got up, went outside, got in their car, and went home and acted just exactly like they did the day before. Because those things won't change you. They may make you fearful, but they won't change you. Because it's not the external that needs to be changed. I'll tell you another little picture that I feel like Source kind of like with the homosexual thing. I have much more peace about that. It's irrelevant. This human body doesn't mean crap. When it dies, they're going to bury it in the ground, and whoever was in that body for how many years they were ain't there, folks. It's absolutely ludicrous how we've been brainwashed to view death. In fact, for me, the excitement of leaving this body is overwhelming at times. And so, look at what happened. They knew one of his followers, and a fire burned in that person's soul, and he handed him over since no one knew who he was. Who's that talking of? Judas, of course, although that's not a correct picture at many levels. They did it. They seized him, but they brought judgment upon themselves, and that's absolutely the case. It's the case with us today. Be very, very careful that you take too lightly the reality of judging other people. Because the judgment that you judge them with, which you can't stand, is exactly what's coming back for you. Now, that's not God sitting on a throne up there and he's going to do this. That is the manifestation of creation. And what you create with your frequency is what your reality is. As is your head, so is your life. Just so you know, the as above, so below was also about you. And whatever your head is doing is what your life is doing. So when your head is full of life and joy and love and kindness and peace, and you don't care about what you do have or don't have, what you care about is that you have him, and your life will, the universe reacts to that stuff so positively it ain't even funny. I'm going to say this not because I'm a smart aleck or a prophet, simply because I believe the truth of Source. But there will be a day when I will simply think a thought and that thing will appear. And it's not that far away. That was the power that we all had lost and are intended to regain. It's really not as spooky and ooky as everybody seems to think it is. I mean, to be quite honest with you, out of all of the 24,000 sects of Christianity, the only one that I know of that believes in miracles, signs, and wonders is the Pentecostal movement anyways. And they threw everything else away and kept that one aspect. They were, you could call it a religion of the miracle. That's what they worship. Or the religion of the tongue. That's if you can find some kind of babble to spit out of your mouth and shake like you got a disease, then somehow you must be spiritual. Lived in it my whole life. Watched it go on every sun worship day in my grandpa's church. And in my own church, as people cluck like chickens and dance like donkeys, and old ladies fell down in the floor and bashed their head against the chair. And I could go on 1,000 things I've seen in that manner. And not one of them ever helped that person live a better life. Never. I guess it really comes down to what is your picture of your dream life? And so just so I make it clear, if immediately popped to your car, the house, nothing wrong with cars or houses, I expect to have all of those things. But it's how we get them. Please hear that. There's nothing in the world wrong with having those things. I have had Source tell me that I will have some of those things that are much grander than I have a vision for. But it's all about how you get them. And that's the journey. So, he prepared himself to go down and prove them wrong. That's such a powerful statement for us, brothers and sisters. What about if we are living in this metaphoric picture that we're getting pictured here? What if that it really is our reality? Should we be then sitting around in fear? Should we be then sitting around in anger? Or shouldn't we really be preparing ourselves to go prove those people wrong? Well, how do you do that? You do that by, when you hear someone who says how much hate is in the world, you do that by releasing your light so that someone somewhere feels the love of light. You sit and you focus conscious intention on something good for someone that may hate you. It could be akin to loving your neighbor as yourself. It could be akin to loving your enemy and bless them. Don't curse them. I'm telling you, folks, the pieces have been here. The interpretation that was given us is totally fallacious. And so I'm going to stop there. I hope you guys are blessed. I hope you experience all of this and so much more as all the light workers on this earth do. This is not a time to mourn, be sad, upset, discouraged. It's a time to recognize how blessed that we are if we have found our higher self. Peace to each and every one of you. Shalom. May you enjoy. May the blessings of our Creator, may they manifest and make you rich and not poor. May they bring you peace and not anger, and love and not hatred. That's the beauty of the universe. Namaste.